Hey everyone, this is Matt, and in today's video, we will be finally doing the matchup that a lot of Dark Magician players have been waiting for, and that is Floowandereeze, or Floowandereeze, however you want to pronounce it. I think it's supposed to be Floowandereeze. I think it's supposed to be like a play or some kind of like pun on because it's about like a wandering bird or something. I don't know. Floowandereeze. Let's go with that. Anyway, yeah. So other Dark Magician players like Lolza have been talking about how this matchup is really annoying, and yeah, I feel like this is a really good deck. Like the power creep that Konami keeps doing, like with all these new archetypes, is so insane. Because like here you have a deck that summons a bunch of monsters in one turn. None of these summons are considered special summons. Doesn't use the extra deck. Like you know, every single card effect, has a banished effect, right? Doesn't really need or use the graveyard, and just recycles everything back to their hand like immediately. It's crazy. Anyway, yeah, so we're doing something a little bit different today. If you might have seen in the YouTube video title, this is actually going to be a 3-0 video, right? Like, what do you mean 3-0? Is it a best of 5? No, it's not a best of 5. It's actually been a little tricky finding Floowandereeze players on EDOPro. I was able to find one. This guy's name is Shade Cloud. And he did join in for a best of 3, but after I beat him in game 1, he just like disconnects. I think because he saw like what deck he was playing, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't want to play this." Yeah, I definitely, yeah, Floowandereeze is definitely built and optimized to play against combo heavy decks. And then in the second match, I play against this player named H underscore, who sounds like a Bond villain. And yeah, we go. So he sticks around for 2 games, and I 2-0 him. So yeah, so I have this. Yeah, so we'll go through both duels, or both matches, and yeah, hopefully y'all learn something, and you'll see how to deal with Floowandereeze. And if small spoiler, but if you've watched my other video about Gozen Match, you should know that Gozen Match is going to play a big role here. All right, so let's get started. So game 0, which is against this first guy. Let's see. So in this one, I think, yeah, I win the die roll. So I choose to go first. If you'll notice in my hand, I don't actually have the ability to make Dragoon on the first turn. Well, you will notice that I do have Magicalized Fusion with Dark Magician, so technically, if I'm able to, uh, summon Dark Magician onto my field, I can make Imduck, and with Magicalized Fusion, Imduck and Dark Magician make Dragoon. So, no Dragoon on turn 1, but definitely the potential for Dragoon on the second turn, possibly. Yeah, so I open Circle, Soul Servant, so which means I'm going to get, Salvation, Magician's Salivation. Yes, I said Salivation because DM Girl is front and center. Yeah, so here's Eternal Soul. I have DM in hand, and I'm going to set Judgment, which is always great for protecting my back row. Alright, so what is he going to do? So, Plot of Prosperity. Yeah, so the crazy thing about Floowandereeze is, like, they can run literally every pot. Extravagance, Duality, Prosperity, it's nuts. Like, they're so consistent. And they have a lot of, like, starting combos. Yeah, so the map banishes a monster, which allows him to gain an additional normal summon from the hand. And when a monster is banished and he performs a normal summon, he'll get to activate this to basically recycle it back. Yeah, so as you can see here, like, yeah, this is crazy. So, yeah, all his Floowandereeze monsters have a trigger effect when banished. That when on normal summon, you can literally like trigger this and recycle back to hand. So he can literally chain block every single normal summon. Like, yeah, it's crazy. It's like this is more chain blocking than Tri Brigade. This is absolutely nuts. So he's gonna send that back to the hand. Searches the thing. Yeah. So Robina typically, summoning Robina typically leads to summoning Eaglin, but he decides to summon Stritch, and I think the reason for that is because yeah, Stritch is a really annoying monster that banishes a card from the opposing graveyard, and in this case, he banished Soul Servant, which sucks because that means I lost a draw 1 on the next turn, right? Like, yeah, super obnoxious and annoying interaction right here. Anyway, so he's gonna summon the Eaglin. Eaglin's gonna normally he would use Eaglin to search M-Pen, but he already had M-Pen in hand, so he searched Mega Monarch instead. So, all right. Here, I don't want Mega Monarch to activate its effect, because if it does, he'll get to bounce 2 of my cards from the field, and I need all my cards. So I'm just going to Solemn Judgment this normal summon. Yeah, one thing that's also annoying about Floowandereeze is the fact that, so let's say that was a Solemn Strike, right? I can't Solemn Strike a normal summon, right? Only special summons. And because of all these banished effects, so it says right here, like, um, if a wing-beast monster normal summon to your field, while this card is banished, add this card to your hand. So if he summoned, let's say I had, Solemn Strike. He summons Mega Monarch. He activates Mega Monarch's effect to bounce 2 of my cards. That's Chain Link 1. He can then trigger Eaglin in the banish pile for Chain Link 2. So he literally chain blocks Mega Monarch, so I wouldn't be able to Solemn Strike. So basically Solemn Judgment is like the way to go against Floowandereeze. Like Solemn Strike is not good against this deck, because of how easily they can chain block from their banish pile. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So yeah, I Solemn Judgment that, and he's out of normal summons. But I activate Eternal Soul, but I don't use it yet, right? And the reason I don't use it is because I expect him to go into main phase 2 and set back row, and I want to use his banish on back row, right? So yeah, I'll let him attack with a 700 attack monster. I'm under Pot of Prosperity, therefore I only took 350, right? Alright, so at this point, I'm going to use Dark Magician and Circle to banish. So, real quick, against Floowandereeze, all their monsters want to be banished. Or, that's not true. Most of their monsters want to be banished. So, you should focus your banishes on back row, right? They are like a combo deck that do rely on some back row. So, for example, he has Dogmatic Punishment here. I would have preferred to banish Punishment, but, 50-50, did not get lucky with my snipe. And then the map is annoying too, but yeah, I opt to go for like this random trap. Few exceptions to this rule. So normally you don't want to banish monster. You don't want to banish his starter monsters, his like low level monsters. You do want to banish M-Pen, because M-Pen does not have an effect where if it's banished, you get to recycle it, and neither does Mega Monarch. So actually, Floowandereeze has three boss monsters and 1 floodgate that they usually run. So M-Pen is one boss monster that's also a floodgate. Ryza is another boss monster. Their third boss monster should be in here. Yep. No, that's not a boss monster. This is their floodgate. Barrier Statue of Stormwinds is they often like to end their turn on it. And their third boss monster is, where are you at? Here you go. Mist Valley, Apex Avian. Yeah. So these boss monsters are okay to banish, and obviously if you can banish the Barrier Statue of Stormwinds, you should. But yeah, otherwise ignore the little monsters. You don't want to banish them. You want to banish back row. Anyway. All right, so my turn. All right, so at this point, I have Magicalized Fusion, and I can go into Dragoon, right? But I draw Gozen Match, right? So I actually, in this case, opt to not go into Dragoon and instead set Gozen Match and sit on my vanilla Dark Magician. And the reason I do that is because, let's say I do Magicalize into Dragoon, right? Dragoon has, I would have to leave Gozen in hand so that I would have a negate for Dragoon. And then on their turn, like, I would, have my one interruption, which is Dragoon negate, because Magicalize will banish Dark Magician, so Circle and Eternal Soul will be useless, right? The problem is that, remember, they're really, really good at chain blocking. So if they have an effect that they want to go through, they'll just chain block it with one of their banished monsters, and what the hell is Dragoon supposed to negate at that point, right? And in fact, like, if they're able to summon their M-Pen, then I won't be able to activate Dragoon anyway, right? Because I don't know if you know, but M-Pen's first effect says your opponents cannot activate the effects of special summon monsters they control in attack position, right? So I guess I could put, Dragoon in defense position, but then this can just literally run over it, right? Because it's 2700 attack. And its second effect, and even if it wasn't attack position, the second effect says, once per battle, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can banish 1 card from your hand and have the opponent's monsters attack until the end of the turn, right? So if I have Dragoon in attack position, he summons this and attacks me. He activates his second effect to have Dragoon's attack. Because Dragoon is in attack position, like, Dragoon will not be able to activate the negate, right? So I actually opt to just sit on this Gozen Match, because remember, Gozen Match, Floowandereeze and Sword are the main reason I switched from Rivalry to Gozen Match, right? I felt I'll have better luck going into like just sitting on this vanilla Dark Magician with Circle and Soul. So I set Gozen Match. Well, I killed this first, right? Go to Link Spider. So he immediately dominated punishment, and at this point I'm thinking, oh, shoot, he's gonna send Entis. Entis is gonna pop Eternal Soul. I'll be screwed, right? Um, and he does have one Entis left in his extra deck. But so when I see that, I'm like, okay, before Entis comes out, I'm gonna use Eternal Soul, summon Dark Magician, and banish this field spell, right? But he ends up not sending Entis. He sends Tri-Brigade Shuri, the Ominous Omen. So this is a card that Floowandereeze players run, because if you read what it says, this says, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add one Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast monster from your deck to your hand, whose level is less than or equal to the number of your banished Beast Warrior, Winged Beast, right? So he has banished Winged Beast, so Ominous, and they're all level 1, so Ominous Omen will basically let him search a starter, as you'll see here. So that's going to trigger, and he searches his starter, Robina, right? Like, so now he has his one card starter monster, because Robina is all you need to combo off. So yeah, it's crazy how much synergy that this deck has. Yeah, so I set Gozen Match and I pass. So he does Pod Prosperity, okay. He grabs another field spell, uses the field spell to banish another monster, and gets his Robina normal summon. And then check this out. Dude, how insane is this, right? Like, so this is overkill. Like, usually you want to save some of monsters in your banish pile to chain block all your summons, but the fact that he literally, like, has 4 chain links in his banish pile just goes to show how unbelievably busted and, like, power crept this archetype is, right? Like, Konami was like, people are complaining that the graveyard is basically your second hand, like, like too many graveyard effects, or like, you know, and then people start playing counters to graveyard effects, right? But then Konami was like, but what if we don't use the graveyard and we use the banish pile, and all the starter monsters can activate their effects from the banish pile with chain, like, for free chain blocking. And not only that, but all these effects are going to literally recycle these cards back into his hand. Like, this is absolutely crazy. Anyway, so after I see this, I'm like, okay, now is the time for Gozen Match. Like, the party, you've had your fun, but party is over. Because I'm going to Gozen Match up in this bitch, and because his boss monsters are all winds, and this starter monster is a water, he cannot go into his boss monsters, right? Look at this. He just literally refills his hand. He started his turn with like 2 cards in hand. Now he has 7. How insane is this, right? All right. So he summons a water because he has no other choice. Summons a water because he has no other choice. Yeah, he can't summon winds. So, yeah, at this point, this is just like free real estate, right? Attack, 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 like easy pickings, right? Oh, and look, I drew Skill Drain, which is even more perfect because that's even less ways he'll be able to play. Yeah, he just surrendered. Yeah, this game was over. Like, I was gonna attack his 600 monster, do some damage. He might have put these into defense mode, but it wouldn't matter. Like, I basically would have gotten like 2 more draws. I don't see a way he could have gotten out of this. Maybe if he drew Nadir Servant and then sent Entis, he can try to pop Gozen Match. But then I have Skill Drain, so yeah, he's not getting to his boss monsters. It's not happening. So yeah, this is this is a funny game. But yeah, after this game, he just disconnected. He didn't want to play the game 2. I don't blame him, like, because this deck is really good against combo decks. Against like control deck, it's not as good, right? Like, just look at this. I literally like just beat him with a vanilla Dark Magician and Gozen Match. So yeah, run Gozen Match. If you're not running Gozen Match, you need to be running Gozen Match. All right. Next match. So let's do the best of 3 against this Bond villain here. So this is a very interesting series. So let's get into it. Even though it is a 2-0, it's a lot closer than it feels like. All right. So in this game, I actually win the die roll and I choose to go first, right? But I don't know if you noticed something in his hand here. He has this card, which is going to be funny. So I activate Engage, and he immediately changed Dimension Shifter. Alright, so those of you who do not know, uh, Dimension Shifter is a hand trap. In my opinion, the best hand trap in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, hands down, the best hand trap, right? That says if and until the end of the next turn, right? So for basically 2 player turns, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead, right? So this locks both players out of the graveyard for 2 whole turns, right? However, you think, oh, that sounds really detrimental. Yeah. So even though this is, in my opinion, the best hand trap in the deck in the game, most decks cannot run this hand trap because most decks rely on their graveyard, right? Like including Dark Magician, right? Like you can't Anaconda if you're under the effects of Dimension Shifter, because Anaconda requires you to send Red Eyes Fusion to the graveyard. It has to go to the graveyard. Cannot be banished, right? Um, and similarly, like the Sky Striker package cannot function under Dimension Shifter, right? Because as you see here, Engage got banished. Um, so yeah, so I do get Hornet Drones, but there's no point in doing the combo because Hornet Drones is going to get banished. I cannot get to Dragoon. It's impossible for me to get to Dragoon on this turn. So yeah, and the thing is, like, so I said most decks can't run it. So I have my other deck that I like playing, that I have is a Subterror deck, and maybe one day I'll do a profile on that. But in my Subterror deck, I can main deck Dimension Shifter because Subterror doesn't really need the graveyard that much either. So if you have a deck that can afford to run Dimension Shifter and main deck it, absolutely run it. It's like every time you play it, like let's say you lose a die roll, you're going second, you play it, your opponent like instantly scoops or like ends their turn. Like they just can't make their plays, right? And if you recall, Floowandereeze doesn't use the graveyard, and they want all their monsters to be banished. So this is like the perfect hand trap for this deck. It's crazy nuts. And actually, in the previous duel, while I was scrolling through the dude's deck, like you may have noticed that he had Dimension Shifter in there as well. Anyway, so I set Skill Drain and Hornet Drones. So the thing about Nadir Servant is, yeah, it's not a cost to send the graveyard; it's the effect. So technically, I could have searched Ecclesia here, and then I would have, let's say I send Titaniclad. Titaniclad would be banished, not go to the graveyard. Therefore, I would not get Titaniclad's end phase effect. So, Nadir Servant can search me Ecclesia here, and Ecclesia can normal summon and search me a card. However, let's think about this, right? I'm against a deck that doesn't really use the extra deck, right? I summon Ecclesia. Ecclesia can search Fleur-de-Lis or Dogmatica Punishment. Fleur-de-Lis does nothing against their deck because they don't use the extra deck at all. And Dogmatica Punishment, like, yeah, I can use it to pop 2 cards potentially. Actually, I can't even do that because on the following turn, Dimension Shifter is still active. So if I try Dogmatica Punishment with Entis, I only get 1 pop. Entis will go banish instead of the graveyard, so I can't actually pop 2 cards, right, through punishment. So yeah, I opt to just hold back and say, all right, I'm not going to go into Ecclesia, because I don't feel like it's going to help me like in their turn. I do have a skill drain. That's going to help me tremendously, right? So my vision here is I'm just going to, survive their turn via skill drain, and then on my turn, I'll go into maybe an Ecclesia play, right? Because then the graveyard will be re-enabled. And I have the Hornet Drone, so I could actually go into a Dragoon play, right, on the following turn with Ego Booster already in hand. So perfect. All right, so let's see what happens. So I just pass. Um, So he uses the map. Map sends Robina. Robina goes back to hand. Summon Robina. Alright, at this point, I skill drain. So Robina was going to search Eaglin. Eaglin was going to search M-Pen. So I'm just going to skill drain here. Okay? And then that's basically going to end his turn. Because he can't normal summon anymore and he can't search. So he's just going to hit me for 1300, which I'm okay with. Yeah, I don't bother with the Hornet Drones token because I want it for my next turn. So real quick, he does have Nadir Servant, and you would think, oh, can't he use Nadir Servant to pop Skill Drain with Entis? No, because remember, Dimension Shifter is still active. Entis cannot go to the graveyard this turn, right? So it's kind of pointless. I mean, he could use Nadir Servant to search Ecclesia, and then normal summon Ecclesia, but because of Skill Drain, Ecclesia won't be able to search Dogmatica Punishment, and I don't know if he runs Fleur-de-Lis. I don't think he does. Like, yeah, like I've built a Floowandereeze deck of my own. Yeah, he doesn't have Fleur-de-Lis. Just because it's know thy enemy, right? Like I just wanted to have my own profile, and I remember not putting in Fleur-de-Lis. But also, it would be no benefit for him to pop skill drain going like before my turn. Like he's out of plays. Like destroying skill drain will only help me at this point, right? Oh, and actually, I can't even go into Anaconda because skill drain will basically like stop that. Well, whatever. Like even with that, like I can still make something happen with Nadir and like Dogmatic Punishment, right? All right, so let's see what happens. All right, so I end phase, summon Hornet Drones. Why I do that? Uh, just in case I top deck Red Eyes Fusion. Yeah, I did the summon on the end phase. All right. All right, so I just had the god tier top deck of all time, and for those of you Dark Magician players who play Skill Drain, know why that is. And yeah, this card just single-handedly won me the game, as you'll see in a moment. But yeah, so let's get into that. So Souls will send DM Girl. All right, so I use Soul's Effect. I'm gonna send Skill Drain to Graveyard as well as the duplicate Nadir Servant because Nadir is once per turn. And then because Skill Drain is going to be sent to the graveyard, the effect will not be negated. So yeah, this is an amazing interaction. And I can't believe I've gone so long without playing Skill Drain in a Dark Magician deck. Thank you, Lolza, for showing me the way. But yeah, if you're a Dark Magician deck and you're not playing Skill Drain, you need to be playing Skill Drain because this is just like low-key amazing. All right. All right, Token and Skagari, both into Anaconda. Anaconda to Dragoon. By the way, I had Eagle Booster, so even if he had like, I don't know, punishments or maybe like imperm or maybe like whatever, hand trap, like Eagle Booster in hand means that Anaconda will definitely go through. I mean, I also drew Call by the Grave, that's nice too, but Eagle Booster is just like guaranteed, like there's no way, you know, Anaconda's going to be negated here. Okay, so got my Dragoon, pop pop. Swing for 35 and set some back row. Oh, yeah, I use an ear to grab some Dogmatica stuff first. So normally Call by the Grave is not good against Floowandereeze because, again, Floowandereeze, they don't really use, like, on the opposing turn, right? Floowandereeze, they don't really use graveyard effects, like, and they want their monsters to be banished. So normally Call by the Grave against Floowandereeze is only a hand trap deterrent. But actually, as you'll see here, Call by the Grave has a second use, which is really useful against Floowandereeze, which you'll see in a bit. Yeah, so Titanic Cloud searches Floowandereeze, go into their turn. Alright, so he tries a Nadir Servant here, because Dimension Shifter is no longer active. And he does send Ominous Omen, because he wants to search his starter cards, right? So here's where Call by the Grave comes in handy. So Call by the Grave against Floowandereeze on their turn is mainly only for Nadir Servant targets, because if you look at their extra deck, it's all Nadir Servant targets, right? And I've built a similar profile myself. Yeah, 3 Intis, Nova with Mechaba package, Farragut, Ominous Omen, and Titanic Lad, right? So these are all his entire extra deck are just cards he wants to banish for pots or send to the graveyard. So Call by the Grave is for that. So I was expecting he was going to Intis here to pop a back row, but regardless, Call by the Grave would have stopped that. And he went for Ominous Omen because he needs plays, like an Ominous Omen will get him the cards he needs to combo off. On that note, because he sent Ominous Omen, that hinted to me that he did not have his combo, right? Like if he had his combo, like if he had Robina and like the cards he needed to full combo, I think he would have gone for Intis instead of Ominous Omen. Therefore, as soon as Ecclesia hits the field and tries to use the effect, I use my negate here, right? I think, all right, you have 2 cards in hand. You send Ominous Omen rather than Intis. I don't think you have Robina or the cards you need in play, so I'm just going to negate this. And the Eagle Booster that I didn't use is just discard fodder, right? So, Ecclesia, and he surrenders. Yep, so I was correct. He did not have further plays. And even if he did, I have a Solemn Judgment, so I can still negate like his big boy summon. All right, so that was game 1. So pretty interesting. Game 2. Game 2 is also very interesting. In this game, he chooses to go first, and I'm second. And actually, before I get into this, let me show you what I side decked. Yeah, that'll be more useful. So I haven't done this in previous videos, but I'm going to visually show my side decking rather than just tell you about it. So what I side decked, I took out Nadir Servant. So first of all, I put in DANKRATOPS, triple Dark Ruler, back row clear, and I took out triple Nadir. So I almost always side out Nadir for games 2 and 3 because Nadir Servant's a really good card going first or second. Like if you don't know, it's like generically good. But once you know, like going into game 2 and 3, oh, my opponent's going to make me go second, or I'm going to make myself go first. Like, there's better cards than the Deer Servant. So I'd rather side it out and put other cards in. And what else do I take out? I also take out two Solemn Strikes because, like I said, they're not that good against Floowandereeze because they can just chain block. I take out Called by the Grave because I'm going second, and the only hand trap I've seen so far of his is Dimension Shifter. I can't really Dimension Shifter, going second. Like, he's going to use it on his turn. Yeah, and like Nadir Servant, I don't know. I felt like Call by the Grave was fine to side out. And my last side out was one of my Solemn Judgments. So here's what I end up going into game 2 with. I definitely keep Skill Drain and Gozen Match because they're definitely MVP cards in this matchup. Yeah, so why did I sign it Dark Ruler No More? Because if you recall what his boss monsters are, he has M-Pen, he has Avian Apex, he has Mega Monarch, and he has Barrier Statue of Stormwind. So these are all, cards that have monster effects that are really annoying, like Floodgates or Negates or whatever. So I want Dark Ruler because I'm going second, and I want to just negate his board if he sets that up. So Harpies with Cosmic Cyclones, these are for back row clear. So he does run some back row, like he does have Punishment. I think he has like some other traps or whatever. So yeah, and then the field spell is obviously annoying. And the continuous spell is also really annoying. The Floowandereeze, one of the continuous spells of Floowandereeze allows him to either draw up to 2 cards on his turn by shuffling back Wing Beasts, or tribute summon using monsters on my field, right? So I definitely want to take those out. And then of course DANKRATOPS is just like a great generic going second card. Lolza is the one who convinced me about this, and yeah, I'm running this now. So yeah, so that's what I side deck. So let's get into game 2. Alright, so he goes first. So crazy, mind-blowing thing here. So he doesn't open his starter monsters. Like, Robina is the monster he wants, right? So cool thing, interaction, is that Floowandereeze can combo off using Crossout Designator and Nadir Servant. So Crossout Designator is actually core. So like Nadir Servant and Crossout Designator are both core starter cards for Floowandereeze. Mind-blowing, and you'll see why. So he uses Crossout Designator, and he uses it to send this monster, Floowandereeze Stritch, right? And why does he do that? Because then he's going to use Nadir Servant to send Ominous Omen, right? Sure Egg. Remember his grave, and he searches Ecclesia. Remember his graveyard effects. He's able to add monsters from his deck to his hand, like Wing Beasts, whose level is equal to or less than the number of banished Wing Beasts. So he has 1 banished Wing Beast. He can now add a level 1 Wing Beast monster of his choice to his hand, right? And he uses that to add Robina. And remember, Robina is the one card starter for. So yeah, so he had a hand with no starter monsters, but with Crossout and Nadir, he now has his full combo. It's nuts, right? So Token's gonna recycle back Stritch. Robina's gonna summon, search Eaglin. Eaglin's gonna summon, search M-Pen. M-Pen's gonna summon. Searches, what did you search? Did you search Mega? I think you searched Mega Ryza here. Whatever. Oh no, maybe the trap. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Yeah, oh yeah, he summons Ecclesia, uses it to search, punishment, yep. Oh, this is the continuous spell I was telling you about. So first effect, he can tribute monsters on my field. Second effect, he can shuffle cards back into his deck and draw. So that's what he's gonna do here. So he shuffled 2 of his birds back, and then he just drew 2 cards. So he drew another Nadir Servant and Dark Ruler No More. So I find it interesting that he sided in Dark Ruler No More. I assume this is a side in, but why would he do that if he's going first? I mean, he knows I run Dragoon, so maybe that's why, but maybe he just can't afford Forbidden Droplet or something. I don't know. Yeah, so he sets punishment and whatever this other trap is. Alright, so I engage. Alright, so I cannot do the full Sky Striker combo here to get into Anaconda Dragoon. Why? The reason is because, remember, this M-Pen says that monsters in attack position cannot activate their effects. So that means Kagari cannot recycle Hornet Drones. So I can't get that second body on the field. So, yeah, this Penguin's a problem. And I know for a fact he has Dogmatica Punishment, right? Like, I saw him search it off Ecclesia. Alright, so what do? So, Salvation gets Soul. I set Gozen and Judgment, right? So at this point, like, you know, I have the ability to get a body on the field to you know, protect against attacks, right? And possibly combo on the following turns. Alright, so his draw phase. I immediately Gozen Match. Why did I do this? Okay. The reason I did this is because, two reasons. One, if he wants to start his combo, and I know he has Robina in hand, right? That's a water monster. I want to lock him out of water monsters, right? So Gozen Match will force him to keep wind or light. In this case, he's going to keep wind for obvious reasons. But yeah, this prevents him from summoning another body on the field, right? So the only way he can summon now is wind. And he does have Ryza. However, Ryza requires 2 tributes. So let's see what happens when this Gozen Match resolves. So Ecclesia goes to the graveyard. And now he doesn't have the ability to summon Mega Ryza unless he tributes both of these monsters, right? If he tributes both of these monsters, then he will lose his M-Pen, and he'll be in a lot weaker state. Yeah, Ryza has the ability to bounce 2 cards, so he'll bounce 2 of my cards. Probably Gozen and maybe Eternal Soul. But again, I have Solemn Judgment, so if he tribute summons Ryza here, I'll just Judgment him, right? So not too worried about Ryza. What I'm not expecting, which he ends up doing, is Nadir Servant. So at this point, I expect him to send Entis, and Entis will pop Gozen Match, and then he'll be able to summon Robina and full combo, right? So I can't let that happen, so I Solemn Judgment this, right? So he uses his Unknown Winds to draw 2 more cards, and unfortunately it doesn't look like he drew the cards that he wants. Alright, so battle phase. So I'm going to let him attack me. I'm not going to summon Dark Magician via Eternal Soul. Why is that? And in fact, even in main phase, I don't do it. Alright, so why did I not use Eternal Soul to summon Dark Magician? Well, because, remember, I know for a fact he has Dogmatica Punishment. One of these 2 cards is Dogmatica Punishment, right? If I summon Dark Magician, even though Eternal Soul makes Dark Magician unaffected by card effects, it does not make Dark Magician untargetable. So if I summon Dark Magician with Eternal Soul, he will immediately use Dogmatica Punishment, target Dark Magician, send Entis. Entis will pop Gozen Match, or Eternal Soul. If he pops Eternal Soul, I'm basically dead in the water, like no monsters on my turn to make plays with. If he pops Gozen Match, actually, if I did in battle phase, he would pop Gozen Match and main phase 2 combo off. If I summon Dark Magician in end phase, he would pop Eternal Soul, and basically like clear my board, right? So basically, from my perspective, I cannot let him Dogmatica Punishment because I'll have a really bad time if he does, right? So, all right. So I hold back. I'm patient. I do not use Eternal Soul yet. All right. Look at this God tier top deck. DANKRATOPS, baby. Let's go. All right. So thank you, Lolza, for convincing me to put this card in because look what I'm gonna do now. So special summon DANKRATOPS in defense mode. Why defense mode? Because if he was in attack mode, then M-Pen would prevent him from activating his effect, right? So why is DANKRATOPS so good? Because he has a quick effect tribute that allows me to pop a card on the field. Now, if he tries to Dogmatica punish me, and targets DANKRATOPS, I would immediately chain DANKRATOPS tribute to the graveyard, and punishment would lose its target, and therefore it would not send Entis as the effect. So punishment targets for cost, sends for effect as effect, right? So it makes no sense for him to use punishment here. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send DANKRATOPS, and I'm going to try to snipe punishment. If I can snipe Dogmatica Punishment, I'll be good to go. So in this case, so remember in game 0 against the other player, I failed to snipe punishment. Well, this time I do snipe punishment. Bam! Look at that. Karma, right? I failed the first time, I succeed the second time. All right. And at this point, it's now safe for me to use Eternal Soul. Eternal Soul will bring in Dark Magician. Dark Magician will attack this little bird thing for 17, and then I set Hornet Drones just in case I need an extra body to defend. Right? It's a quick play, but I don't think I will. All right. So I'm at 500 life points here. So what happens? So he draws another field spell. So he's kind of getting unlucky with these top decks. He drew like 3 field spells in a row. He uses this card to shuffle back Robina. I think he's trying to top deck another Nadir Servant, honestly. Like, yeah. Doesn't get the card he wants. So he attacks DM, and he tries to use M-Pen's second effect, which says he banishes a card from his hand and halves my Dark Magician's attack, right? So in his view, like, I'm going to go to 1250 attack, and he's going to kill me for game, right? But I only lose 200 because Eternal Soul makes Dark Magician unaffected by card effects. He probably didn't read that or forgot about that. So yeah, so that's nice. End phase. Bring back Dark Magician. Alright, so let's see what my top deck is. Another god tier top deck. Let's go Upstart Goblin. Alright. So I've clearly convinced Lolza that this is the best card in the deck. Hopefully, you know, and other replays I've posted, like of my deck matchups, have also shown and hopefully should have proven by now that this is the best card in your deck. But wait till you see how godly this card is, right? So I'm going to play it. And look at that. Look at this top deck. Red Eyes Fusion, baby. Let's go. All right, so, definitive proof Upstart Goblin's the best card in the deck, right? Hands down, no discussion. So this is a god tier top deck, and it's going to win me the game. So I have to summon Dragoon in defense because I need to pop this Pengu, right? And doing so in attack, I will not be able. If I was in attack mode, I would not be able to clear this Pengu. So goodbye Pengu. Swing for 25. All right, this is a winning board. Like I don't think at this point there's anything you can do to win. Like the only thing I think is like he can try to Nadir Servant to pop Gozen Match. You know, but I still have Dragoon negates, and then yeah, he ends up not drawing any of his monsters nor the Nadir Servant. So maybe you could say like I got lucky with card draws in this deck, but he had a pretty solid opening board. He had M-Pen, he had Punishment, like he had a solid board, right? But yeah, Gozen Match MVP. If you're not running Gozen Match, you need to be running Gozen Match. And obviously DANKRATOPS, amazing side deck card, and of course Upstart Goblin, always the MVP, wins me every game. If I see Upstart Goblin, I win the game. Like that's usually the rule, right? All right. So that was it. So yeah, so I'm 3-0 against Floowandereeze so far. Obviously this is EDOPro. Like I don't know if that was the most optimal deck. I don't know if they misplayed those games, but yeah, I haven't seen Floowandereeze yet at my locals, so yeah, this is like the pretty much like my primary exposure to Floowandereeze. But yeah, hopefully y'all learn something and you see how you can beat these annoying birds, these goddamn birds, right? But yeah, Gozen Match, Upstart Goblin, DANKRATOPS. Like, those 3 cards, just MVPs all around. Alright, thank you for watching, and hopefully y'all can get as much of a kick out of this video as I have. Like, this is actually a fun matchup. Like, I enjoyed it. Like, even though it is kind of a combo-y deck, like the Floowandereeze, like, I do enjoy how it plays and how it, like, uses the Banish Pile. And, like, yeah, it's kind of broken, but I don't know. I think it's a more interesting deck than, like, Tri-Brigade or Drytron or whatever. Anyway. Alright, take care. Thanks for watching. Peace.